One night, I was thinking about a dress I used to wear, so I decided to draw it. Then another, and another, and another. And I drew all of the dresses I could think of, and at the end I thought, these dresses tell a story. Clothes are useful beyond protection. They allow for a display of identity. According to DC Fashion Week from October 2024, fashion has been a display of identity for centuries. You could see cultural movements, economic conditions, and much more. So today, love, loss, and what I wore, based on Eileen Beckerman's book by Nora Ephron. My mother used to always wear this black dress and brown shoes with buckles on them, and she had glasses. But every time I drew her, I always forgot her glasses. She had the most beautiful face, and she also used to make all of my sister my clothes. But I always wished for a store-bought outfit. The spring after my mother died, my father took me to B. Altman's department store on my 13th birthday. We were both very sad. But when we walked in, he said, "This is my daughter Gingy, and she needs something to wear for her 13th birthday, and we need help." And they all rushed over because he was so handsome. And so I picked out 2 navy blue dresses, but I was in such agony because I couldn't decide. And you know what he said? "You don't have to decide, because I'm buying them both." One day, my grandmother came and got me and my sister. And she decided that we were going to live with her, my grandfather, and my Aunt Babby. I never saw my father again. My grandparents lived in a brownstone building, and my grandmother had 2 cures for everything: hot tea for anything wrong on the inside of the body, and Vaseline for anything wrong on the outside. And she used to always say, it's easy to fall in love with a rich man as a poor man. But that's just not true. Like, seriously. My best friend Dora lived across the street from me. And we used to always lean outside the window to all the guys walking past, and we'd be like, "Hey, mister, you're going bald." And we thought we were hilarious, but every time Dora got to go someplace special, her mom would always say, "Don't forget to take Gingy with ya." And so I got to borrow this peach strapless ball gown when we went to this Choate School for Boys in Connecticut for the weekend. This is the coral wool jersey dress I bought for a date with Walter Fenton. I was madly in love with Walter Fenton. Every time, though, we'd go out, Walter begged me to go all the way. Finally, at a fraternity party at Dartmouth Winter Carnival, he told me he couldn't see me anymore because necking was just too painful. He went off to have a beer and left me sitting on the floor alone. After a long time, he came back and I said I wanted to spend the night with him. And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I'm sure." So we did it. And that's when I found out that in sex, once you do something once, you have to keep doing it. And at the end of my freshman year, I thought I was pregnant. So I went to my sociology professor at Simmons College, and it turned out I wasn't pregnant. But by then, Walter had vanished. Pink satin princess-style dress I bought in Feline's basement in Boston for my marriage to Harry M. Johnson. I was 20 and he was 37. Harry was my sociology professor at Simmons. We were married at his best friend's house in Dobbs Ferry, and one day I was coming down the steps of our apartment and there it was, Walter Fenton. He had joined the Navy and he was handsomer than ever. And he said, "Gingy, why'd you do it?" And then he kissed my hand and my cheek. And then he walked away. And I wish I could tell you that Walter Fenton ended up being a used car salesman. But he ended up winning a Pulitzer Prize. That prick. Iridescent brocade Chinese-style dinner dress I bought in Cambridge for a New Year's party. Harry convinced me, even though it was expensive. The party was at the home of Harry's friends Penny and Eki. I idolized Penny. Anyway, at midnight, I got very upset because I couldn't find Harry anywhere. And then I saw him. He was kissing Penny. "Harry," I said, and you know what he said? Of course, you know what he said. He goes, "It's not what you think." But it was exactly what I thought. And so now, I'm the youngest divorced person in America. After I got divorced, I moved in with Dora. She was in New York studying to be an actress. This is the yellow ochre dress that Dora let me borrow when she fixed me up with Al Beckerman. He's very sweet, but don't you go off and marrying him. And this is the floral pink dress that I got when I married Al Beckerman. "He's very sweet," I said to Dora. And she said, "I know, but are you sure?" We both want a big family. How big, Gingy? Black and red taffeta print maternity dress. First worn when I was pregnant with Isabel. And then when I was pregnant with Lily, Michael, Joe, Julie, and David. I ordered this beige wool pantsuit from the Spiegel catalog. One day I walked into my office and a man was sitting at my desk and he had a glue stick in his hand and he said, "Do you know how to open this fucking thing?" And it was Cupid shot right to my heart. Fuck. And that day I found out his name was Stanley. So there it was. First Walter, then Harry, then Al, and now Stanley. And so this beautiful print Jersey Diane Fawn Forster wrap dress I wore when I told Al that I was in love with Stanley. And it wasn't Al's fault, it was just Stanley was so great. So I find myself wandering through a department store and it just feels like a desert. And growing up, there was actually a department store called The Forgotten Woman. Ironic, since the store isn't even in business anymore. After I finished making all of these drawings and writing all of these pieces that went with them, I made some copies and then put them in a big red binder and gave them to my children and my two best friends. I was done. I wanted them to know I wasn't always their mother. I was a girl, I had friends, and we did stupid things. And I was so happy. And that was the story of my life.